They saw who Jesus was and they said, nope, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to believe it. Well, this is where it gets really uncomfortable because it said God hardened their heart. And when we look at that, it's really easy to say, whoa. That seems really unfair of God. So you're saying God made them incapable of responding? No, God simply gave them more of what they already chose. They hardened their heart first. They would not. They rejected Jesus. They rejected his words. They rejected his signs. They hardened their hearts. And after 3.5 years of witnessing what Jesus did and what he said and who he was, then God said, okay, because you will not, now you cannot. A really good biblical illustration of this is the story of Pharaoh. The people of Israel were enslaved to the people of Egypt. And God sent a guy named Moses to deliver a message from God to Pharaoh saying, let my people go. And it said, one, Pharaoh said no, and Pharaoh hardened his heart. So about the first 5 times, Pharaoh is the one doing the hardening. And then on time number 6, it says, God hardened Pharaoh's heart. And then it goes back to Pharaoh hardened his heart. And then it goes back to God hardened Pharaoh's heart. God hardened Pharaoh's heart. The point of all this, choosing what I want instead of what God says, it produces a hard heart because you begin to harden your heart. Biblically, it does seem that the more you choose to harden your heart, there does come a point where God says, if that's what you are, if that's where you want to be, I will give you more of a hard heart. And your heart will become just like this thing right here. It become like a brick. Because every single time I choose what I want instead of what God says, my heart gets a little harder and a little harder and a little harder until it ends up like this.